Project 571, genetically engineered vampire created to destroy evil.
What do you want?
We need your help to kill a vampire.
Malleus Maleficario. It was written by a witch. The first witch. Titania.
That was a little snippet from The Witch's Hammer, the first film I ever solo directed, and it's just been remastered and re-released on Amazon. So if you like witches and vampires, then please do check it out. Anyway, let's get on with this week's episode. Hi, Jim here, and you're listening to the Honest Filmmaker podcast. This week I'm chatting to filmmaker Eduardo Castrillo. Hello, Eduardo, how are you doing?
Hi, Jim. Good. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for chatting today. So I'm going to start. The poster's going to be on the thumbnail, so we might as well start with Bears on a Ship.
Okay.
So talk to me about that film. What is it and where did it come from?
Bears on a Ship is, I guess, my latest indie film that came out. So right now it's February 2026, and it's coming out on streaming. It came out about last month on like Amazon, Apple TV, and everything like that. But we shot it back in 2023.
Right.
And so we shot it on board this cruise vessel called the Aurora, which was like this old cruise ship that was built like in the 1950s. It was the first German ship built after World War II. And since the years, like it was a cruise vessel, and then it was used for like different movies, like I think it was From Russia with Love,
Nice.
like
Yeah.
on film. It was used in Baywatch. It was used in Godzilla. So it kind of had like this film history. And luckily, like I had met the owner and became friends with him, and he allowed us to shoot a movie on there, which happened to be Bears on a Ship. And so when I wrote Bears on a Ship, it was just one of those ideas where as soon as like I started messaging people, whether it was crew or actors, they're just saying yes, like, yeah, I'm down, I'm in it, like whatever we got to do, I'm there. And so the thing is when I came up with the idea, I was just laid off of my job, and so I didn't know how I was going to shoot it, right? And it's just kind of like, okay, well, the only way this is going to happen is through crowdfunding, and whatever we raise, that's what we'll use, to feed the actors or anything like that. And then, and so I did an Indiegogo, and we raised some money, and with that, we shot the movie, and yeah, the next thing you know, put it together with editing, and like VFX and everything like that. It took a couple years to where we were able to release it in 2025, which was last year now.
Right.
And, yeah.
So did you get the ship first, then come up with the idea, or were you looking for a ship when you already had that concept?
The ship was kind of always available because I knew the owner and he loved movies. He was always down for, everything. I just didn't have an idea. I've helped other people shoot their movies on there, whether it was like lighting or anything like that. It's like, yeah, I'll go help out. And so I felt like I was done. Like, I'm like, I already lit the ship. I already shot, I did everything I could. Like, there's nothing for, I didn't have an idea. I was like, but once that idea hit, I was like, okay, let's do this. Like, then, I asked, he said yes. He actually played the villain in the story, which was cool. Like, we gave him his part, he did really well. And then, and then we just let everybody know. And then, that's how we filmed the movie, which is crazy because after we finished shooting, the ship sank.
Oh, really? Oh, dear.
Yeah. And so, the ship sank and was like dismantled last year and everything. So we pretty much were the last line of films to be shot on that. Yeah.
Right. The swan song of that ship.
Exactly.
So the interesting part of that, I guess, is just breaking that down for other filmmakers is knowing you have that location. That's a huge part of that story. It's half of the title. So knowing you can get a location like that, tick, definitely shooting something on there. the bears on a ship part, I'm assuming that really helped with the crowdfunding because it's got that sort of novelty factor. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah, it's so we didn't raise like a ton of money. I mean, to me, it's a ton of money, but like, as far as like indie film goes, it wasn't like a ton of money, but everyone who donated was just thrilled about the idea. And
Yeah.
it's for me, it's easier to get people to be a part of a movie that's fun than like dreary. It's just like, oh, I'm making this sad and people are just like, well, damn, like, I don't know. That's kind of depressing. But it's like, no, if this is going to be fun and everything like that, people kind of like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. And so I think just the novelty of that led for the idea to go around. But once I think there's the idea, but then once we had the poster, that's when kind of everything took off. Like everyone was just excited about it because I decided to go for like an actual like artist, like a poster artist, that like drew or painted or anything like that. And yeah, it just made all the difference.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to mention the poster actually because I was going to ask cheekily. I was going to ask if it was AI because I was like, it looks really crisp. But obviously, you've used an artist, which is fab, and it does have that kind of hand drawn look to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can definitely tell that would be something that would make me want to click on it and fund it. And I imagine if I thought I'm going to fund this, maybe I'm going to get a T-shirt with that on. That might push me over the edge.
Yeah.
How much did you raise on Indiegogo?
About $6,500.
Right. And
on Indiegogo. Yeah.
what was the final budget for the film, do you think, when it's all said and done?
About 10K.
Yeah. Okay.
10. Yeah.
And I'm jumping all over the place here, but with your sales and distribution, are you film hubbing it or have you gone with a distributor? How have you got it released?
I'm going through Film Hub. Bears on a Ship is my 10th feature film.
Wow.
And
yeah.
When I was around my 4th or 5th feature film, I was using Distributor. Now, are you familiar with Distributor?
I'm not. No. What's Distributor?
Ooh. Oof. All right, I'm about to tell you a painful story. So, Distributor was an aggregator that came out, like maybe 10 years ago. And it got really big through a podcast called Indie Film Hustle. I don't know if
I have heard of that, yeah.
So Indie Film Hustle was like their big champion and everything like that. And so that's where I learned it from. And it was like big, it was like an aggregator, it's like, oh, you pay this much money and you get on the platforms and then you get to see it was basically like Film Hub before Film Hub, right? But you get to choose which platforms you had.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happened with Distributor is somewhere along the lines, they stopped paying people. And then like a month or two after that, they declared bankruptcy and no one got any of their, money or anything like that. It became a whole thing that like a lot of the like film groups and stuff like that, they started with, everyone was trying to figure out what was going on. And then from there, that's where the whole split happened, where some people, this was like 2017, like 2018, around that time, right? There's people who from Distributor went to like Film Hub, which was still new. It was still like almost brand new, I think it came out 2016. And so I jumped on 2017. And Indie Rights. And so they were like, the people like, it's like, oh, these are like the options that were still new, but people were starting to kind of like get around like, hey, they're actually like paying filmmakers, which was still kind of a new idea back then, believe it or not. But with the film that I got back from Distributor, I messaged both, and Indie Rights said no, and Film Hub said yes. And since then, I've been with Film Hub for I want to say maybe about 5 films now.
Yeah.
And they've always pulled through, still get a royalty check every month, and everything like that. And they've had a lot of changes.
Hmm.
uh, but the fact is it's kind of they stood by me during that kind of heartbreak of a career moment. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of like, well, I'll just keep
Keep on going with them.
on going. I mean, yeah.
And so as someone who's been on that platform for a while, has got a few films on there, are you on the paid plan or are you on the free plan?
I'm on the free plan. Again, because I'm just I'm one filmmaker. I'm not a distributor. I know there's people who put out multiple films a year, where a paid plan kind of makes sense for them. I tend to put out a film every maybe year, 2 years, or 3 years, or something like that, right? So it didn't make sense for me to do that. Like,
Yeah.
once a film's out there, then it's going to take me a couple, years or whatever to make the next one or anything like that. So it's kind of like, well, whatever, when it's there, it's there, like I'm not, I know people like to kind of, yeah, if there's multiple, then they have to get more of the, like, the premium QC, which is a new thing that they're doing and everything. But the paid plans, again, it's not something that I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is such a good thing. Like, not really. But at the same time, when I started out, I've started off with like a couple of films with distribution companies that, it's like, hey, like, nothing's come in or anything like that. And it's just kind of like, with marketing fees and everything. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, it's kind of like, so, but for me right now, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
But
I think if they were to lower the price, I'd consider it. But I think it's a little too high for an individual filmmaker, like you say.
now, if
So
Bears
go
on
on.
a Ship goes on Tubi and makes $100,000, yeah, maybe. It's kind of like, oh yeah, well, okay. Like, but for right now, with it just starting out and everything, I'm just gonna let it do its course, and then we'll see later.
So
Sorry.
you've not hit Tubi yet?
No.
No, that'll be interesting. I'll be interested to see how that does, because that seems like it's the perfect fit for that platform.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. That's the hope. We have not hit Tubi yet. We've been licensed. It says Tubi accepted your license. They said yes. As far as right now, we're just waiting on a set date. Like, but without a paid plan, the thing you pretty much do is you go on Tubi coming soon page and you just look every day, like, is it there? Is it there? And so far, not yet.
Yeah.
So maybe next month they'll give us a date.
So if you do get a good return on it, are you doing a sequel? What's your plan? Or are you just moving on to the next thing?
I've already moved on to the next thing. So,
okay.
Again, I shot Bears in 2023. And then since then, like the next year, I shot another movie. And that one got released on Tubi at the same time I was taking Bears to theaters.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then 2025, I started shooting a new movie. And then while that's in editing, I just came back from Africa to shoot another movie because since I was a kid, I've always wanted to do like a, Nat Geo type of thing and everything like that. So it's kind of like, okay, well, let me go do that. Like, let me try to live this dream while I can, just, while in the situation. And so the latest project that I shot was like a nature documentary.
Oh,
Right?
I'd be interested to see.
Yeah, filming like elephants and lions and things like that. 'Cause I've always wanted to do it. And so instead of like fake bears, I went to go shoot real animals.
Real bears, yeah.
Yeah.
Done with the B-roll. Yeah. So you with those films you're making, the ones in between, the ones before, are you always sticking to the same sort of budget level, or are they all over the place?
When I first started, like the budget level was around 10 grand, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. There was a time in the middle where it kind of went up a bit, and I was because I had a job at Google at this time, and so I would just use all my Google checks to fund my films and stuff like that. But then after that contract ended, it was kind of like, okay, what am I gonna do, right now? Which happened around, like, the biggest film that I had done was Seven Lost. Now, Seven Lost was a World War II film that I shot back in 2020. Um, and that's kind of where I kind of capped out as far as like budgets go. After that, it was kind of like, okay, well, now that, I had gotten laid off, that's where I kind of switched things over. When I shot Bears, that was crowdfunding. And then since Bears, I kind of didn't want to tap the well on crowdfunding too much. I know there's people who just crowdfund, everything all the time, but I was kind of like, well, I don't want to do any more crowdfunding until I finish the project and put it out. So that's just my way of thinking. I know other people think differently, and that's okay. But if I was going to do just like paycheck to paycheck type films, then I kind of kept it around $2,000 to $3,000 budgets. And that's what I've been doing since Bears. So.
Yeah. Low as possible, unfortunately, is the best advice. If you want to make some money, got to keep those costs down. So with that in mind, with budgets in mind, what would be your tips for other filmmakers to keep their budgets low?
The thing now, though, is because, the whole thing is like, oh, don't become a gearhead because, it can drive costs up. But the thing about gear is that it's so much more cheaper now to get stuff that you actually need. So when I first started, lavalier mics were $500 a pop, right? And you want good audio, you want good sound. Now, lavalier mics, you can get them on Amazon because podcasting, everything is so, everything around, you can get them for $100. And that's insane. Like, if someone had told me that back when I first started, I'm like, oh man, I would have bought like a dozen. Not that I had money for a dozen, but you know what I mean. But the thing is you want good audio, but nowadays gear for that is cheap. Lighting, so much cheaper and so much more accessible. Because when I first started, everything was like the hot lamps. I don't know if you know what I mean by that. Yeah. I had hot lamps when I first started, and now everything's LED. They can be portable. Like, back then when I first started, we came up with like this contraption to hook up like the lights to a car battery just so we can have it like on location.
Very safe. That sounds safe. Yeah.
Like that was our option, that and a generator.
And you don't the generator thing before.
We've done the generators, but now it's like portable lights and everything. You go on Amazon, $100. So you can have lights, audio, that's $200. And then if you don't have a camera, you can rent a camera. You know what I mean? Like, they have rental cameras that are, 4K, 6K for like $100 a week. Because I just did it for Africa. I didn't want to bring a camera. Like, I just rented a camera for Africa, and it was like $130 for the week. So if you shoot for a week, that's 3 things of gear. You can have gear for like $500, which was almost unheard, which would have cost me a lavalier mic back when I first started. Yeah. So that's one way. Another way is, if you're going to school, you use the school's equipment, and then the whole thing is you want to use what you have access to, and whether it's locations, like I had the ship. I was lucky on the ship. Like, not everybody has it. If I was going to do a part 2, I don't have a ship. Like, so I would have to figure it out. Yeah. But you want to use what you have access to. You want to do what you possibly can. Which I guess if it's crowdfunding, there's ways. There's not guaranteed ways, but there are things that appeal to people more that I've saw than not. Like, for example, like video roles or things like that where people can feel a part of something,
Mm.
they're more inclined to kind of like help you or be a
Yeah.
part of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. That the equipment thing blows my mind when I think back to the first 3 films I shot were on film. So you can imagine how big the cameras were and the
Yeah.
lighting and how hot it gets, like you say. And I remember we did a shoot where we were doing an outside shoot with a massive tungsten lamp. It was enormous and
Mhm.
probably quite dangerous on a massive generator. So all of that ball
Yeah,
ache just to set that light up. Now you can just go and buy a nice LED panel. And
exactly.
just about to roll, and someone tripped on the cable and it fell over and just smashed. And the worst thing was, I think we'd borrowed it, so it was like smash, £600, hooray! We're already we've just
Oh,
spent £600 on this lamp that we've now
yeah,
bought, and it's
I already
just
know
this,
before the first
yeah.
thing. Yeah,
But lighting, sound, like you say, super important with the sound, but some really good options with sound.
mhm,
And all the little bits and bobs, I think, are quite useful. There's lots of like little clamps and attachments and things that can really sort of elevate your filmmaking,
exactly. Yeah,
depending on what camera you're using.
and the thing is too. Sorry. Yeah,
Go on, go ahead. Yeah.
but no, it does get expensive. But the thing is the thing that it gets expensive is like when you get all that stuff and then you have to get like the bags for it. Like, oh, it's
The
like, oh yeah,
bags.
I got
Yeah.
stands, but now I have to get the C stand bag, and it's just like, damn, that's crazy.
Mm,
Like, but just the fact that things are so much more portable and cheaper, just it does make it easier. But at the same time, you gotta actually like put that stuff to use. If that makes
yeah,
sense.
definitely.
Mhm.
So we talked about budget saving tips. What's kind of what's the toughest part of it for you? What's the hardest part of making a film?
Okay. I've answered. So I know the answer to this question.
Yep.
It's not a happy answer.
Oh dear.
um, but it does put everything kind of in perspective. The hardest part about making a film is when you're in the editing and you have to put in the credits like in memoriam of, if that makes sense. So
Hmm.
I know that's not what everybody's like answer. It's like, oh, it's raising money or something like that. But it really does kind of put things in perspective where I've worked on films and the people in the film or such, they passed on before the
Mm.
films were released. And the thing about that is it's very difficult. Sorry, my cat. It's very difficult. It is. It's the most difficult part. But when you go back and you watch the film, you always have that friend or that person. Like, you get to share the memories, and that's kind of what makes it worth it. Like this is kind of what it is. Whether the movie makes money or not, that's the gamble. But what makes it worth it is like now you always have these people. So with Bears on a Ship, we lost 2 people that were in the movie. They didn't
Mm.
get to watch the final part. One of them passed away a month before the release. So that was really tough. That was difficult. And when you kind of think about like, oh, the crowdfunding or the shooting on the ship,
Mm.
which in the middle of summer it was like 112 degrees on board, like all these,
Nice.
it it just didn't compare.
Yeah.
And so honestly, like at the end of the day, it's like you do this to build something with other people, and that's kind of like the legacy. Like that's the
Yeah.
that's what you're leaving, and everything like that, and that's what you get to enjoy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and honestly, I know I'm gonna take a left turn on this, but I think it's one of those things you're not gonna get with AI filmmaking, because I know that's a big thing right now. Like,
Mm.
now I can do car chases on AI and everything like that, but you're not going to build the same type of memories, whether it's just you and your friends going and do something, even if it's not um, like AI production worthy or anything like that. It just doesn't compare.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a funny one. I mean, I was filming a short. We're doing this short comedy thing just as a bit of fun, not a feature film,
Yeah.
and we're doing it with friends. So it's not we're not bothering anyone. We're just kind of like doing it, and we were like 3 school kids making it, just mucking around because it's a comedy thing. One of our friends is like a comedian, and when I was there, I was just like, oh my god, we're still 12. Do you know what I mean? The 3 of us acting like idiots making this film.
Exactly.
And to your point on, I mean, there was a lovely poetic answer. Mine was going to be, oh, I get tired and hungry. So you made me feel bad there. But the one that always gets me is I really love the movie The Grinch, Jim Carrey film.
Yeah.
As if you remember, but that ends with a dedication to Ron Howard's mum, and it comes up at the very end of the film. Everyone's all happy, and it says something like, I wish I could remember her name. It's to Ron Howard's mum, who loved Christmas the most, and it's a real like, that's
man,
you know what I mean? That's a way to end a film,
right?
Especially a sentimental movie. So the film's come out, and as a fellow filmmaker, the worst part for me of that process is then trying to get people to watch it. Is spreading the word. Watch my film. What do you? How do you handle promotion? Any tips? Anything that you've done in the past that's worked for you?
Honestly, so with Bears on a Ship, I took it to theaters. We had like a limited theater run, right? We had like 10 theaters, and getting getting people to watch your movie at home for free is difficult. Getting them out of the house to pay, brutal. That is brutal. But we've had theaters that were full, and we've had theaters with like 2 people.
Right.
I definitely prefer the full theaters, but at the same time, it was humbling. Where you just
nice, worth it for the lesson. Very humbling, yeah.
But the thing is it, whatever you can do to make it work. I mean, at this point, you're throwing everything out there, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Everything from post, like putting it on IMDb, and it's like, okay, if it's going to release, then you put it on the release calendar, and people look at the release calendar, and then if they see a title that's like interesting to them, they're going to check it out. So IMDb is a great tool, and then I tried doing Facebook ads, and I have no idea if that worked or not. Like, there's just no, like social media. I don't know, but I mean, we did have a couple of people who said they came to the theater because of the newspaper. We had an article featured in the newspaper, and IMDb was like another one. But that's like, that works for theaters. Another thing that like helps is like, you have the poster, if you can get the poster in the auditorium, if they can play the trailer, it just depends on, the theater chain or anything like that can help you. As far as like at home, the last couple movies I had, I was just in the Tubi groups on Facebook and just like, hey, can you watch, like check it out. And a couple of those were like the poster just went viral, like I posted, like the movie poster, and like the next day it had like 1,000 shares. So I'm like, oh, that worked. Like other times, maybe like 2 likes. And it's just kind of like, you just never know. But the fact that you never know means you have to try everything and anything. Anything short of, I guess, if you're the kind of person that goes around and knocks on their doors on every neighborhood, I mean, hey, that works.
You try it.
Shy about that, but yeah, you try to do as much as you can, and then sometimes, honestly, I've had a film where I did nothing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, how did that happen? Like, where did all these views come? And then you just, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
The Tubi groups are interesting because I was thinking about this the other day. Is what I've noticed is on those groups, obviously you can only do so much, and you can only post unless you've got a team of people helping you post and comment and share and all that kind of stuff. You can only do so much. Yeah.
But that's okay.
Almost never have anyone else apart from yourself talking about the film. Obviously, you can utilize your cast and crew a bit, but they're all going to move on to the next thing while you're sort of
Honestly,
selling your
most of the
wares.
time it's me and my mom.
You and your mum, yeah. It's me and my wife usually. But what I was going to say about the Tubi groups, what I've noticed is that most of those groups, there is a person. It's not always the admin, but it might be the admin. But there's a person that everyone sort of listens to. There's somebody who posts really regularly and is really active on those groups. And I think if you can get that person behind your film,
Mhm.
I think you stand a good chance of it sort of going viral within that group. And I also wonder if there's power in sticking to one group, because there's loads of groups, and some of them you post on. I'll put a poster up and I'll see the next post will be someone talking about their gutters or something. Do you know what I mean? The group has just evolved into just like a forum.
Yeah.
So finding the right group is tricky.
Really is.
Last question I was going to ask you was, what do you, looking back now on all those movies you've made, what do you wish you'd known when you started?
I wish I would have known about distributor, but like, that kind of just imploded on itself. I do wish I could have known about the distributor before that had happened. But again, with that happened, I mean, you get the scar and you learn from it. And then, I'm not sure because the world's a completely different place. Film Hub wasn't around when I had started. That didn't come out to my, fifth feature film. So it's kind of like, hey, you did what you can. And then back then, even my fourth feature film I had on Amazon when Amazon was like the big thing. Like, oh, everyone's going to Amazon Prime. And it went from 16 cents an hour paying to 1 cent. And I remember seeing the difference on that. It was just like, oh, we went from $300 last month to $11 this month. And it was just kind of like, yeah. But that, is, I think everything's just going to change no matter what, whether it's for good or bad, the world's going to change. And I think I would have been more accepting that my first film was not going to take me to Hollywood. We all have that dream, like, oh yeah, this is going to be the one. Like, no, it's not, but that's okay. Like, I think just knowing that, even if you're doing small things or big things or anything like that, if you're just doing it for the right reasons, you're going to be happy.
I hope that was useful. If you're interested in learning more about micro and low budget film production, I suggest you check out How to Make an Indie Feature for $10,000 with Sean and Taylor King. They've pretty much got their own little production company and studio set up and make a film every year, get them out there and actually make profit on them. So it's a really interesting chat. See you on the next one.